And I think we're live. So
cross our fingers.
Crossing our fingers. It is Bob here, and I am. I've just literally just landed in New York and took a train across the city and got to a Regis and trying to make the connections work, and because everybody's always bitching about my internet connection, so they have a corporate grade connection here. I don't know.
Let's put it to the test. Regis, you're on the line.
You are on the hook, Stephen. Dude, thanks for joining, man.
Thank you for having me.
So, so we've been chatting back and forth for, I don't know, several months now. We got to sit down and have a chat in Paris, and I got to kind of get an idea of what you guys are doing. So I love what you're doing. Give us a quick background on the company and how you got where you are, and then we'll talk about where you're going.
Cool. Yeah. So my company's name is Ballast Technologies, and we are the pioneers of something that we like to call aquatic virtual reality. So aquatic virtual reality, as it sounds, is any sort of virtual reality that involves water. And for us right now, that is segmented into two main products. We make virtual reality systems that work on water slides and virtual reality systems that work in swimming pools. So we've developed these systems in the last 2 years and sell them to water parks and resorts.
Somebody's lost. Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, dude, don't wait for me, because obviously this is on my side. I don't know what's going on. So just keep rolling.
Okay. All right. Yeah. If I see you drop out again,
and I'll just refresh the browser, because that seems to be what it's going to take.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. So we sell these systems to water parks. They charge their guests to do these experiences, and so we've kind of stumbled into pioneering this location-based entertainment virtual reality company, and the idea was born out of a curiosity to see what it would be like to combine virtual reality with floating in a pool. There's a lot of benefits to being in water. One of them is that you sort of have this zero gravity feeling. Others that we figured out along the way, and we didn't realize at the time when we started experimenting with it, are that you don't have any motion sickness in water. Essentially, the inner ear shuts off when your body is submerged in water, and that prevents almost any feeling of motion sickness while you're doing it,
right? Which is just that, you've got this amazing experience, and like the first thing I'm thinking is that you're going to want you don't want chunks in the pool, right? That would be terrible.
It's actually the opposite. Yeah. And that was one of the first things that we kind of realized when we built the first prototype. It was like, wow, there's something really interesting happening here with locomotion and thinking that you're moving in the water, but not actually moving. So initially that was kind of the idea was can we experiment with doing VR, floating in a pool, feeling like an astronaut, going through the ocean. And then as we were looking to turn that idea into a business, we came across the idea to put VR on water slides at the same time, and started developing this into an entire range of products that we now sell to water parks.
What's the mix right now? So and because I'm like, my interest in this whole thing started with the Swim with Dolphins thing, right? So I wrote this series of blog posts, and one of them has been like watching what's happening at SeaWorld. And for me, it was, my ex-wife loved dolphins, and so we took her to the Hilton Waikoloa Village in Hawaii on the Big Island, and she did the whole Swim with Dolphin experience. And and afterwards, I was just struck with massive guilt for supporting that. So that's how I found out about you guys. But now you're moving into different markets. Like, what do people really want? Like, where are you seeing traction?
Yeah, all across the board, luckily. So the first system that we developed was the water slide system, and that was born out of a partnership that we discovered through IAAPA. What was it? 2016, late 2016 was when I had the idea to do VR in water. In 2017, I was working a job at the Discovery Channel. I was running the creative at the department that oversaw their VR content, and was working that job while still trying to figure out how to turn this idea into a business. And we were talking to people about raising money. Nobody really understood the idea, or we didn't even really understand the business behind it yet. And so I was just trying to do a lot of fact finding, and along the way, we had received an inquiry from a water park. And so it got me thinking about the entertainment market and the attractions industry. That led to me having a conversation with somebody who told me about the IAAPA conference. And in June of 2017, we went out to Singapore to go to the IAAPA conference there and just kind of start meeting people in the industry and see if people were interested in virtual reality. While we were at that conference, we got put in touch with a
I'm
German
still here, by the way. I
water
just
slide
turned off my
manufacturer.
camera, so I'm hoping that. Yeah.
Lower the bandwidth. Okay, cool. We met this German water slide manufacturer called Wiegand Melzer, and at the time it was being run by a visionary named Rainer Melzer, who has really had a big impact on the water park industry. He was the guy that came up with the idea for the spinning water slide, the rotating water slide. I'm not sure if you've ever seen that, but it's called the slide wheel. And in the last couple of years, I mean, he was really driving things forward with his company and looking for new innovative ideas. So we sat down at that conference, and he had expressed to us that they had been trying to do VR on water slides just to amp it up a notch, but they had failed to get the tracking to work. And so we said, hey, we can take a stab at it. We'll do it. We put together a budget within 24 hours, and the next day we sat down and said, yeah, this is what it's going to look like. This is what it's going to cost. Here's how long it'll take. And before we knew it, a month later, we were flying out to Germany. I still had my full-time job, but I took a few days off, went out to Germany, signed a contract with them. And then a few weeks after that, we formed the company officially, moved to Germany to live at a German water park, and started development on the VR slide system. Fast forward, it's now been in operation for about 18 months, and the VR slide has the highest volume of any of the experiences that we've created so far, just because on a water slide, you are able to get hundreds of people down the slide an hour. And so we're seeing huge demand on the installations that we've done for VR on water slides. And it's great for the parks because they're, upcharging €2 or €3 per ride. And they have between, 500, 800 visitors a day that are actually choosing to pay for this upcharge experience and go down the slide.
Amazing. So, and so how many locations are you in now and with the water slide? And then let's talk about the deep dive snorkeling thing too.
Yeah. So across the board, we're in 5 countries. The VR slide is installed at 3 water parks at the moment. That is in Munich, in Prague, and in Austria, right on the Hungarian border in a town called Lutzmannsburg. And across all 3 installations we've had, I think the total is somewhere around 320,000 people ride those slides. And we've got a few more coming up, but I can't exactly reveal where they're going to be just yet. But we'll be putting some new slides into. Yeah,
and I assume you're going to be at IAAPA. Do you have are you going to be there yourself, or are you going to be within somebody else's booth, or how are you showing up in Orlando?
Yeah, we'll be at IAAPA. We're going to have an outdoor booth space in the parking lot. And the reason for that is that we're actually going to have an above ground pool where we're going to be showing off our snorkeling system, Diver. and something that we just rolled out at WWA called Diver Plus, which is a motor-based system where people are wearing the VR snorkeling mask and they're holding on to a thruster, which is giving them sort of an added fourth dimension of bubbles and current. And
that's what I saw in Paris,
I
think, at IAPO. It's kind of like a James Bond underwater, like torpedo jet ski thing that you hold on to, and it just adds to the immersion. So similar to the Void or one of those things where you get the vibrating floor and you get the wind. In this case, you're just getting cavitation and bubbles. And I haven't done it yet, but I can absolutely imagine how effective that is in fooling the brain into thinking you're actually moving.
Yeah. So Diver, like the snorkeling product by itself is already like, it's the height of immersion, right? You really are tricked into believing that you are wherever we're showing you that you are, because you're when your body's in water, you just kind of forget your other senses. And it feels very natural to have a dive mask on and to be seeing something through the window of this dive mask. But taking that another step and adding speed and adding vibration to it, it really kind of takes what we've done with Diver and adds a thrill ride element to it. So it's kind of cool that we've been able to, even very early on, figure out two different types of experiences for this submersion-based technology.
Yeah, now I don't know if you can hear me, I've got a video I want to tee up, which is from your YouTube channel. So I'm going to go ahead and play this.
So this is showing off Diver. Essentially, what you're seeing here is a snorkeling mask. So we've custom built this snorkeling mask that creates a watertight seal around the face and has a display inside the headset. What you see here is that the person is actually tethered to an anchor. So, for a long time, we thought we were going to have to develop sort of a tracking system underwater that would keep you away from the edges of the pool. Turns out that it's a lot easier just to hold people in place. And the advantage of that is that you actually believe that you're moving forward. You actually believe that you're going in the directions that you're swimming in, because being in water sort of tricks your brain again. You don't realize that you're being held in place by this anchor. That's worked out well for us because we're actually able to fit quite a few people in a pool at one time. So you can have multiple stations of this experience going on and get a high volume of people through in an hour. This guy's reaction is great. He's a championship swimmer.
Unbelievable. I was trying to touch the whales. Unbelievable. This is magical. How do I get one?
That's awesome.
Cool. Yeah, so that is Diver. That's a product that we finished last year in the fall of last year after we had deployed the first VR slide system, and that was really cool because building the VR slide system taught us so much about device management and operation inside these water parks that we solved a lot of the software and operation problems while we were building the VR slide. And so it was really fluid for us to be able to turn around and apply everything that we had learned from the water slide system to this snorkeling system, and be able to launch one quickly right after the other one.
So what types of locations do you see this snorkeling system going into? I've talked to there's a timeshare we've talked to that's looking about putting it potentially deploying it into one of their pools, and because they're looking for things for people to do. Like it feels like there's a massive untapped market where you could just like drop this in to existing locations. Like, what kinds of conversations are you having? I know, water parks are one place, but it almost feels like there's a bigger opportunity elsewhere. What are you hearing from people?
For sure. Yeah. We've kind of gone after the water park market just initially because these are high volume places where we can sell this system for, quite a lot of money. And those customers have a chance at gaining their revenue back very quickly within 12 months. So we've kind of initially just gone after that market because we're still a small company. We're still kind of building up to scale, but as soon as we're ready to scale, I see us being able to put this system in any existing pool space in the world. That's resorts, that is hotels, and eventually at some point that even could be consumer, backyard pools. The advantage of this is that you really don't need much to operate it. Ideally, you want to be in water that's between 3 and 4 feet. One of the biggest issues for us is safety, and we want to make sure that people can stand up if they ever have any problem with the snorkel or anything like that. So we sort of mandate that the operators have to operate this in 3 to 4 feet of water. It's an attractive offering to these resort owners and these hotel owners because they have the existing pool space. They're not monetizing it right now, and this is a product that can instantly let them transform that space, that square footage.
Now there is an attendant required, right? I mean, that's something we talked about, and there's there's that whole ratio of users to attendants, and especially if they're not going to, a lot of these resorts don't have lifeguards on staff, right? And so, what do you tell them about that? How do they manage it?
True. At the moment, we're very adamant that there's always an attendant and an operator there overseeing the guests. Just because as we roll this product out, we want their safety to be a primary concern. I think at a certain point, it would be conceivable that we could sell these to hotels that don't necessarily have lifeguard operators out at the pool, but they would check the equipment out to their guests, have their guests sign a waiver, and make sure that the guests are responsible for each other. So have a sort of a buddy system going on there where they're always using it in pairs, and people are watching out for each other. We've seen that there aren't really a lot of safety concerns, especially when you're doing this in shallow water. When you put this in the hands of people, anything can go wrong, but I think that there's a lot of products out there that require some degree of just responsible operation, and we can follow those same guidelines and explain our rules clearly, make sure that people understand them, and let them experience this product.
Cool. So can you step us through the economics? Like, I've talked about it, and just the high level throughput, cost, price per play. And what's your experience been now, and how can people make money with this?
So one of the most exciting developments for us as we've launched this in the last year has actually been pursuing revenue share partnerships. And, it's actually turning out to be sort of the most interesting business model for this product. We rolled out with Kalahari this summer. First, we were at the Pennsylvania Poconos location, and then we rolled out in the Wisconsin Dells, and we're doing revenue share with them, which has been great. They're offering it for $10 per person for a single experience, $15 for 2 experiences, $20 for 3 experiences. Okay. Each experience is 5 minutes long. And with a simple instruction, it adds up to being about 6 or 7 minutes per individual. On average, we're seeing about 100 visitors a day, and so it's generating really good revenue at those parks. And I think, long term, we're still kind of modeling this out, but we've been selling this to parks, and making that one-time sale is great for us as an early company because we're still building up our capital. But in the long term, I do think that the revenue share model is a really interesting way to go, as long as we can kind of set some parameters around what our targets are for these operators. And yeah, we're generating somewhere between, it's like $15,000 and $20,000 a month at these locations that are doing 100 people a day. So it's a great value proposition. I think, obviously there's certain parks and locations that meet that criteria, that have enough visitors coming through the park on a very regular basis, that have long seasons. The indoor water parks have year-round seasons, and those are the best.
Thought about just like putting this in a
parks,
suitcase and going to every timeshare and hotel in Orlando? Like, it seems like there's enough business in Orlando just by itself to keep you guys busy for 5 years.
I would be happy to partner with somebody that wants to go do that. We're literally taking on as much as we can as a small team right now, and I think that there is massive opportunities for us to partner with sales partners and distributors. That's how we're kind of scaling the business right now, is that people have been reaching out to us from all over the world, and we're trying to give them all of our knowledge, all of our expertise in how to sell this, and letting them sort of run with it, and making sure that there's a very good proposition for them to make money as they do this as well. That's the biggest thing right now, is like, we've been selling to big water parks because there's that's a relatively small market that we can handle. And as we get the resources to scale, as we can handle more customer support issues, have better resources to support all the products that are out there, then we will start going to these hundreds and thousands of places that are untapped.
And so there's a model where you can just kind of like tether to the ground, I guess, and you drop like a big cement block in the pool, and it holds them in place.
The prototype was a rock. It was just simply a rock that had a rope tied around it. And we've now stepped it up to diving bricks inside of a sort of a protective bag. In the European pools, which I prefer, they all have tile bottoms. And so we're able to just stick a suction cup on the bottom of the pool. And that acts as the tether.
And then the ones that have the, what do you call it, the with the torpedo? Yeah.
Diver Plus, the motor.
Yeah, awesome.
I'll show a video of this. Yeah. So this is just a quick little video clip. I don't know if this is going to work, but I'm just going to hold up my phone to the screen here.
We're all about high production value on the deep dive. Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So this motor mounts to the side of the pool, and it stays stationary. It doesn't go anywhere, but it produces bubbles and current that make the user think that they're actually going at a high rate of speed through the ocean or through outer space. The cool thing about this is that it's completely mobile. Everything is housed inside of a box that sits on the side of the pool. And essentially that houses either an air compressor or a scuba diving cylinder, which is used to produce the bubbles and all of the cavitation and vibration. And then there's also a small computer controller in there that is actually synchronizing the effects with the headset. This was all developed in cooperation with a company here in Sacramento. They're a company called Subsea Systems, an amazing group of people that have been in the attractions industry for many years. The founder, Jim Mayfield, he was one of the inventors of Snuba systems, and he's also worked on the design of a lot of submarines with Graham Hawks and some of the other legends in the aquatic industry. They are most famous. I'm just trying to pull up a picture here. They're most famous for a product called Sea Trek, and I'm sure you've seen this around before. It's basically a helmet that you wear, and it allows you to go to the bottom of the ocean floor without any knowledge of scuba diving or, complicated scuba techniques. So, it was one of those things where we had seen each other at a lot of trade shows over the years as we were starting up, and they were fascinated by what we were doing. And eventually, Jim was like, listen, we got to find something to work on together. And that's when we started talking about the idea of this motor. Their expertise in designing motors and submerged systems was very apparent. And so we decided to partner up on this and start selling this together.
Did you guys just launch that in Paris? Is that a fairly new product?
Yeah, Paris was the first time that we showed that off. WWA in Orlando was the first time that we gave live demos.
That's the World Water Park Association, for those of you that are thinking like, Hulk Hogan and wrestling.
Yeah, not WWF. Yeah, the World Water Park Association. Yeah. I love their logo. It's like kind of retro and very cool. We actually did demos in the water there for kind of a select group of people, including some people from Disney and some other major parks in Orlando. And it was just very exciting to see their reactions to it, because this is something that, can be fit in a compact space like a cruise ship pool. And you can get multiple people kind of right in line with each other.
So what do you think?
It's a product.
Have you guys figured out costs on that thing and what you're selling it for? Or is it a revenue share deal, or what's the...
I think we would also be interested in revenue share deals. We would have to work that out with Subsea and kind of figure out what the splits are on those. But we're selling the motors for, I believe it's $28,000, something around that line. That comes with a headset. And then there's content licensing on top of that, depending on what type of content the park is interested in.
And how long are those experiences, and what do you think you can charge for them?
They're also 5 minutes. I see them coming in a little bit higher than just the normal diver experience. I think ultimately we would love to have both experiences available in the pool. If diver is priced at $10 an experience, maybe the diver plus is somewhere like $15 or $20.
Awesome. Pushing the envelope on the pricing. I love it.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm always sensitive about that kind of thing, because
don't be. There's plenty of other people that are sensitive about it. Like, push it.
Yeah, it's been really surprising to see people's reaction to the pricing, and the reaction we generally get is, wow, that's cheap. Because, I think people come to these parks with a mindset of spending money on experiences, and $10 for them is it's
a mind-blowing experience.
It's a world first. Yeah, it
really is. And that's the thing is, like, we think $10 and we're thinking arcade games or merry-go-rounds or shit like that. And this is not that. This is something that people are going to talk about for years. Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing that we never really saw coming too is that for many kids, it's a snorkeling lesson. I did not realize how many people have never been snorkeling in their lives before. And so that's what we're seeing, is that a lot of parents are really happy to get their kids in there and have them actually learn how to snorkel, and the kids are excited to learn. So that's been a really cool sort of side benefit that we never really saw.
Fascinating. I think you guys are going to have a ton of success with this thing, and I think if you can push the envelope, it's a $28,000 device, and you can charge $2, $3, $4 a minute. $20 for a 5-minute experience, and get 3 or 4 of them going at the same time from an attendant. Now, these obviously will have to be attended, I assume. There's some sort of manual operation that has to happen.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that these experiences are started up by an attendant. People need to grab onto the handles and make sure that they're not pushed away by the current, all that kind of stuff. So these are attendant-based experiences.
And so now one of the things you've also done is you've created kind of this outer space experience, which now, like, I feel like I'm going to push back a little bit, because there's no sound in outer space, right? There's no wind, there are no bubbles. And so, like, I kind of get the concept because you're weightless. And I totally see the diver thing in space where because you feel weightless, and I'm imagining like that's a pretty incredible experience. Talk about that first before I ask you how this like capsule thing is going to work.
Yeah, sure. The space experience was kind of born out of, well, that was my initial desire. When I thought about doing underwater VR, I wanted to feel like an astronaut floating in space just because of that zero gravity property of water. We experimented with doing this in flotation pods, the sensory deprivation pods where you kind of lay on your back and meditate for an hour. I think it really, just the fact that you're in neutral buoyancy really sort of enhances that visual element that you're floating. So we've developed a space experience where you basically travel straight down, and the entire time you're going basically in just a single straight line, looking straight down at 90 degrees. And you start out above the Earth through a meteor field, and you fall straight through the space station. And as you come out the back of the space station, you're all of a sudden above Mars. So yes, I know there's no sound in space, but we're taking a lot of liberties here with our virtual reality, right? That's the fun with it. And then as you go into the next space station, you start rapidly picking up speed, and you start falling super fast down through this next space station, the space tunnel. That was just us experimenting with, can we make you feel like you're going really fast without making people sick? And what else can we do with this feeling of floating? So a lot of people love it because it's a very meditative experience. The fact that you're sort of traveling in a single direction the entire time, when you see people doing it in person, it's like their entire body just goes still. They're just completely floating there. Whereas the ocean experience, you're moving in sort of a more horizontal fashion. People are actively involved. They're moving their body. They're swimming around. But with this one, it's just like they're just completely locked up. Lifeguards hate us because when people don't move, it's like everything they've been trained to look out for. And so, we're always looking for signs of people wiggling their toes or wiggling their fingers. So it's funny because people prefer the different types of experiences. There's people that prefer the space experience because they have nothing to compare it to. With the diving experience, sometimes scuba divers that have had a lot of experience, they're very critical of it because it doesn't match what their real life expectations have been. But they love the space experience because they have no reference point for it, and they think it's just such a cool thing that they never thought that they would be able to feel like they're experiencing. So that's what we're trying to do, is now experiment with different types of floating experiences. One of those is sort of a meditation abstract experience where, using fractals and kind of this geometry that you see in a lot of these full dome type VR experiences. We want to make a lot people feel like they're falling, obviously, right? Sure. Yeah. I mean, yeah. There's those type of experiences. And then the one that we're doing for Diver right now, which we're finishing this month, is a skydiving experience. So if you didn't think water and space was going to mix, then you might be surely shocked by this one. You literally start floating above the clouds, and then you start diving through a canyon in sort of a wingsuit style formation with other skydivers. And we think it's our best one yet, just because we're really now starting to play with this feeling of floating and speed, and experiment with what kind of effects.
Yeah, wow, that's fascinating, because that's iFly obviously has done really well. Now they're bolting VR on top of it. I don't know how well that's doing, but that these are things that, and this is the beauty of VR. I don't have to tell you, but it allows you to do things you just can't do in other ways, or that are cost prohibitive or dangerous. And so I love seeing you guys push the envelope around stuff that people just, like I was just in Hawaii. Not everybody gets to go to Hawaii all the time to go diving and seeing a bunch of tropical fish. And very few of us will ever make it into space. Right. And that's really amazing.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, it is really a fun period for us right now because we've hit our stride as a business. We're, now that our products have been in operation for a period of time, people are actually taking them seriously. The sales pitch is much easier because we're able to deliver stats and revenue that is real and actually making a difference for these companies. And now we're getting to have fun with the content and partnerships. Like we really want to do a lot of partnerships with big IP holders, whether it's like Warner Brothers or DC Comics or Disney, whoever it might be. There's so much that we could do if we were doing the Finding Nemo experience underwater. And so that's kind of the next thing for us is as we expand into more parks and locations, we want to make these partnerships with these great IP holders so that we can really tell interesting stories and not just experiment with physical experiences, but tell good stories.
So
also.
Albert Hartman's asking, are you guys self-funded? Have you raised money? Are you raising money? What's going? And I don't know if Albert's looking to write a check or not, but
Albert. No, I'm really proud to say that we are self-funded. We bootstrapped this company. When we struck that deal with the German waterslide manufacturer, that was essentially how we were able to start the company. I quit my full-time job right after we signed that contract, and then also turned down a job at Google on the Daydream team, and had this very nervous couple of weeks where I was waiting for that first payment to come in from our new partners. We basically were able to start with that and struck an amazing deal with them where we were able to retain all of the IP that we developed during that process, but they would hold the exclusive sales rights for the waterslide system. So it was a good deal for both of us. They engaged in a revenue share deal with the first location, so they've almost made their entire investment back from that system. And then since then, we've been selling products and systems. We've run lean, so there's a lot of things that we've done the hard way because we have not taken on that investment. But for us, it was really important to be able to kind of control our destiny and control how we're putting these products out into the market on our terms, rather than being told by investors what we need to do and what kind of deals we need to go after. It's allowed us the flexibility to really take time, get things right, find the right partners, and grow this the slow way. I think now we're at the point where we are interested in expanding the sales capabilities, pursuing more revenue shares, making it easier for these products to get into the parks that we're talking with. And so we would be interested in taking on investment to do those things. It's not essential for us at this stage, but I think it would be a way for us to grow a lot quicker. And that's the phase that we're kind of exploring right now, is we're having a few conversations with investors that are interested in having some of these revenue share deals and seeing this kind of long tail return on investment coming back.
Investors love recurring revenue, man. So if you can build that and keep the value product, there's a balance with the operators, because operators don't necessarily want a hand in their pocket either. And so, in the early days, it's good for testing. They like to mitigate their risk. But once you have a proven model,
they want more of that.
They're like, I don't know if I want to pay you that. I think I can write the check, right? And especially the guys that are going to make the most money have the money to spend. And so it's a delicate dance you have to do. But yeah, some sort of recurring revenue makes sense. What about IP? Like, is there not IP as far as licensing, movies and shit like that, but like hard intellectual property around patents? Like, I know, what have you done or can you do to protect yourself from the competition? Because you've seen what happened in some of these other sectors. Like, once a company has success, all of a sudden there's like 20 freaking companies that are copying it. And so where do you guys stand there?
Sure. Yeah. We've filed our patents. We have a very early priority date on them. I think patents really only come in handy when you're ready to go and back them up and spend the money on litigating.
So it's a right to sue somebody is what a patent is.
Right. Yeah. I think as far as competition goes, we have a very early lead on anybody else that's interested in getting into this space. And we're really building up our brand to stand for quality. I think we have a lot of internal understanding of what makes a good experience. And I think that a lot of competitors might come along, especially in different parts of the world, but to design experiences that really take advantage of the elements that we've integrated into this technology, it's not so easy. I think that's what you see with a lot of VR companies that try to copy some of the early leaders, right? You have hardware that looks the same, you have like setups that look the same, but the content sucks. And so by us being able to kind of provide the full suite of all of that, I'm hoping that our brand name will stand out. It will stand for quality. You know, if people are copying Apple in certain markets, we want to be the Apple.
Yeah, I hear there's like $25 AirPods you can buy on Amazon. I'm sure they work great.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think it's inevitable. We're not afraid of that. The market is large enough for everybody to succeed, but that's my number one commitment and concern is that our products mean quality products, and that we stand behind them. We offer the support and offer the sophistication of all the software that we've built into these products, and we'll stand behind it. As far as licensing goes, yes, I want to license our technology. One of the biggest pieces of our portfolio is that we've built a really, really cool device management set of tools. Even the way that we launch experiences, which is through NFC card, I think is something that a lot of companies should license from us, and should be widely adapted by the VR industry. What we do is our software is running on these headsets. They run in sort of a standby mode with either green, yellow, or red showing through the lenses, which is how much battery the device has on it. And as soon as you hold up an NFC card to these headsets, whatever card that is that you're holding launches that experience. It is the simplest way for anybody to go from standby to being in an experience, and it should be used in every VR headset. Now
you guys are, my guess is you're using Galaxy Gear and Gear VR?
So we're actually using Samsung devices on the inside of our headsets. So we basically built a custom version of Android that disables a lot of things at the root level of the operating system, like the touchscreen, and when the device boots up, it boots straight into our software. So everything is built around that. And so
you're basically you've taken a Galaxy phone then, and you've put your own firmware in there, your own OS, and then built it into a dive mask, essentially.
Yes, and the VR, the water slide is a variation on that, where it's not a watertight seal around the face. It's more of a soft, loose fit that's a little bit more comfortable and has adjustable IPD. But they both revolve around those phones being inside the headsets.
And is there any, so from a supply chain standpoint, is there risk around access, or do you keep upgrading every year to the new phone when the old ones aren't available anymore? And how do you manage supply chain? Because that's something that a lot of people that watch this are in the manufacturing and solution provider side too, and struggle with it. How do you deal with that?
That's an issue that we're actively finding solutions for at the moment. And I did not expect that to be as much of an issue as it has been, but not only is it difficult to find certain models of phones as you go, but there's increasingly difficult software lockdowns on these phones that make it hard to crack and install your own software on. So I'm reaching out to people at Samsung. I'm trying to find the right people for us to partner with them. It's tricky because the volumes that we're doing right now don't necessarily warrant somebody from their mobile department dropping everything and helping us out. I think experientially, what we do is a very sexy product, and I think that hopefully they want to be involved with that because it is very different. It shows the power of these devices and what they can do. So I am actively trying to work on that, but at the same time, we're pursuing a path that will let us use not just Samsung phones. We're pursuing a path that will let us use any phone out there, and that's kind of something that we're doing to as a safety if that supply chain runs out. Ultimately, if we're getting to the point where we can justify manufacturing our own OEM units, then we would love to do that. And that might actually allow us to go down the consumer route to be able to reduce the cost on these devices so that it's
Yeah,
in
that
the
was my
range
next.
that
That was
consumers.
my next question as a consumer product. So there's a lot of swimming pools out there, and a lot of people pay a lot of money for pool toys. I think my question is like, how repeatable is this experience, and what price point do you think you'd have to hit, and from an experience standpoint, from a consumer product, what might that be, and is this the right product, or is it a different experience? And what do you think? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, it's an interesting path. It is a very different company that we would have to build to do that. I think that the advantage is that the market that we'd be after there is kind of a little bit higher than the average VR consumer headset customer. I think pool owners routinely spend money on their pools, and this turns their pool into like the ultimate party trick, or meditation tool, or there's a range of things that we could offer these customers that turn their pool into something more than just a place to swim laps. I don't exactly know what that price point is. I do think the advantage for us there is that once we're able to get the hardware into people's hands, that there would be a very interesting subscription model there, where they're subscribing to a monthly subscription of new content.
And we're able Sorry, I couldn't resist.
Yeah. So we haven't spent too much time sort of looking into the economics of what that would be. But it is always something that is in the back of our minds, and I think as we grow as a company, we have to be able to consider that and see what the options are.
Can you track the movement in water? Is there a way to do that, or because right now I know you've got people basically anchored or tethered. Have you played around with tracking, and what might that enable if you could?
I think the best shot for us is to use cameras and to use the onboard cameras in the headsets to actually do inside-out tracking. It's something that we're interested in doing to bring appendages into the frame, so that you can actually have your hands in front of you in the experience. I honestly do think, though, that the most ideal situation is for you to be tethered, because you're not worried at all about running into anything, about swimming to the edges of the pool. And until you've done it, you will be shocked at how much you feel like you're moving in a certain direction without actually moving at all.
Yeah, cool. So where can we do this? Like, if I wanted to get on a plane somewhere, obviously, everybody, I don't know what with all the VR in Munich. I know Life is on here somewhere, man. You're hogging all the VR in Munich, Life. What's going on?
Well, there's a conference in Munich this week, the AWE Festival.
Yeah, Kevin Williams is there. Yeah. Hi, Kevin.
Hey, Kevin. We're actually offering, there's a special deal going on Friday where attendees from AWE can go to the water park in Munich to go ride the VR slide. And they will let you do all three experiences for only €2. I think they're going to be tweeting out a special coupon or something like that. But go to Therme Erding, that is the water park in Munich, to ride the VR slide. The thing that they have there that the other installations don't have is a very cool conveyor belt that takes the headsets from the bottom of the slide up to the top of the slide. There's a German manufacturer that makes conveyors for rafts, for water slide rafts, and they made a special one just for the size of the headsets. So that's just kind of a neat piece of engineering to check out too. Diver can be checked out at Kalahari. They have been our launch partner in the United States. So you'd have to go to Wisconsin or
just
to
Mountains.
Poconos Mountains.
But not at Kalahari. I was in Wisconsin. But yeah.
It's
the Dells, right?
The Dells are beautiful, man. Yeah, it's a really interesting location, and I think self-proclaimed water park capital of America. But a deserved title, because there are, I think, something like 6 or 7 water parks all within a very small area. Yeah.
And what about Poconos? Are they in the Poconos too?
They're in the Poconos, and we are working on getting it to Ohio. That is something I'm working on with Carrie Brandt, who you know, who also said to say hi today.
Awesome. We love Carrie.
Yeah, seriously, the whole team at Kalahari is awesome, and we've just really been thankful for their partnership and their willingness to try something new. Because honestly, that's the biggest roadblock that we've seen, is that there's a lot of people who are afraid to take a risk in this industry. I think especially in the United States, they want to see that it works in other places first, and so for them to believe in us and to have that faith has been really awesome.
Where in Kalahari, so Kalahari is a massive water park. It's like 200-something thousand square foot of attractions. Where do they put it? Like in the wading pool or where is it?
Yeah, there's a shallow basketball pool. So they have these like basketball hoops that
outside.
Kids usually are shooting hoops in. They also have them inside as well. Yeah. So the one in Pennsylvania is by the Grotto Bar in the back of the park. And I'm not sure what the hours are. I think there's limited hours. I think it's from maybe like 11 to 1 or and 4 to 6 or something like that. The park website has all the info. I was just in Orlando with the director of that water park, and he was going around to people telling them that this experience is making more money than our flow rider lessons. It's making more money than our mermaid lessons. I mean, they've been blown away just by how big the appetite for this is. So that was really encouraging to hear. We're working on more deals with different parks in the United States. So it will be in a lot more locations by next year. And then people can always come to San Francisco and reach out to me directly. And I would be happy to give you a demonstration. If you're really that eager to try it, come to San Francisco. Let's set something up and go for a swim.
So the thing that dawns on me, a lot of people struggle with hygiene. Now, if you're in a chlorinated pool, do you even think about it?
Yeah. So the biggest thing is the mouthpiece on the snorkel, and the mouthpiece is removed for every guest, and each guest gets their own mouthpiece that is then recycled after they're done.
Now, when you say recycled, does that mean it's like thrown in a bag and they take it out the back and they bring it in the front and they use it again, or is it boiled, or is it literally like?
Well, you have to spin it over your right shoulder 3 times as well. No. I mean, they're run through like an industrial grade dishwasher, and they're all washed, and there's a process where basically every night these mouthpieces are being washed. We want to be an environmentally friendly company since we do care about the oceans, and as much as we can, we don't want to waste plastic. We don't want to waste these resources. So we would much prefer just straws, just paper straws. They seem to be very popular with people, so we're just going to go that route. I was having a conversation with a park in Vegas who wanted to give a single mouthpiece to every single visitor, let them go home with it. And it became kind of a sticking point because, we don't want to dispose of thousands of mouthpieces that are only going to be used once. So we try to push our customers in the direction of doing that, but ultimately it's up to them. As far as the mask goes, they are cleaned, and anti-fog is put on the lenses because that can sometimes be an issue. The lenses can fog up after too many uses.
Do people want to spit in them and like rub the saliva on the mask?
I do that for my own personal mask. I haven't seen anybody else try to do that. I think that they know better. But yeah, you'd be surprised at how chlorine takes care of a lot of the issues.
Yeah, totally. Bleach kills everything, right? So, So, and Maria, we should talk about this because I know you guys might have something on the horizon where this makes sense. So let's catch up. And what's next for you guys? Like, you got IAPA coming up, and
IAPA is going to be huge. We've got installations coming online, some more in Europe, some more in Asia, hopefully some cruise ship line partnerships to come next year. We're also pursuing branded activations. There's a lot that brands can do to hold really, really memorable events using our product. We did an event last year with Vodafone, who threw a big pool party in Amsterdam, and they invited a bunch of media personnel to come and swim with sharks. We want to keep doing more things like that because it's a really great way for brands to put people inside their stories and make everybody have a memorable experience. I would like to have a branded takeover of an entire water park where we install a VR slide, we install Diver, we install Diver Plus, and we have a themed story that is continued through all three products. Just imagine like some sort of comic book figure, that you get to go on these three different journeys with and have this continuous story throughout.
And look, and that's going to happen. Like I was in Paris, I did at Elucity. I think I talked about this. I wrote about it in my blog, Toyland, where you went from, which was done by Blacklight or Backlight, which is a great developer. And you go from like a backpack, you're in a backpack and you have a free roam, and then you sit down in a D-box chair, and then you're in a helicopter, and then you get out, you do a mission, and you come back, and then you're in a Jeep, and then you're out again. And so these multimodal experiences, moving from one thing to another, extending the experience and wrapping story around it is the future of all VR experiences, especially in the park. So I'm highly confident we'll see that somebody develop that with you guys in the next few years.
Yeah. I think, that's the biggest advantage of location-based VR, right? Is being able to tell these incredible stories in ways that you just can't anywhere else. And I think no matter what people are saying about the consumer VR industry, it's shocking to see how much love and curiosity there is for virtual reality to the general public who have never encountered VR. I'm because we've spent so much time around it, I think it's easy to not be impressed by a lot of things, or to think that there isn't excitement around VR sometimes. But then when you go to some of these theme parks and you see the way that people are just like blown away by simply peering into a headset for a couple seconds, you really forget at how many people in the world have not yet touched VR at all. And how much growth there still is to be had in this location.
So true, and I'm probably the most guilty of that, right? And I'm part of my job, I think, is to push the envelope on continuing to improve and be on the bleeding edge of that, because once people do it and then they do get exposed to it, their consumer expectations accelerate quickly once they realize what's possible. And the good news is we're seeing better and better and better experiences. Like 2 years ago, there was a handful of VR attractions at IAAPA that were probably worth what I would consider worth somebody's money. And last year there were a bunch of them, and this year it's going to be overwhelming. And so
even in Paris, we saw that it was like almost everywhere in almost every booth.
Nuts. So wait till Orlando.
I was at an event the other night. I got to go to an event with Fabien Cousteau. He's the grandson of Jacques Cousteau.
Did he just do the documentary with Schwarzenegger?
Was it?
It was one of the Cousteaus.
Game Changers.
Something like that. And where Arnold was narrating it and he introduced it. It was amazing underwater footage. If you haven't watched it, check it out.
I need to. I went to this event, and at the last minute I was like, okay, I'm just going to bring the headset with me just to kind of, if I get a chance to talk to him, I'll be able to show him in person what this headset looks like, at least. One of the funny things about our headset is that it actually it's not clear unless you're in the water. We use water as part of the magnification element of the lens. So when you're actually looking at it above water, it's kind of blurry. But I thought, you know what, I'll just bring it. And I walked into this very small event, and it was like everybody turned to look and look at this bright yellow headset. And they all wanted to hold it up to their faces to take a look around, because many of them had never actually put on a VR headset.
So they could actually get it.
Yeah.
So what did he think? Was it there's got to be a collaboration there, because you want to talk about really watch the documentary. I mean, you'll see it immediately. They've created this amazing footage that's never been seen before, and it's ridiculously high quality. And being able to deliver that in where you're actually with it, that would be amazing. And talk about trying to create activists, trying to spark people to give a fuck about the oceans
Yep.
is what those guys are about. And you.
Yeah, I mean, he got it right away, and he was very excited. And one of the things that kept coming up in conversation was that think of all the people that never will have access to the ocean. All of the people in landlocked countries in the United States. There are hundreds of thousands of people that will never go to an ocean and be able to snorkel with any meaningful, sea life. I think immediately there were a lot of light bulbs that went off with a lot of the people that were there that night. I mean, some really great people that work in all different types of ocean conservation in that industry.
Well, maybe he can introduce you to Arnold, because Arnold cares, and I hear he's got a little bit of money put away. So
that would be nice. I would love to do an Arnold experience. We'll make it exciting, action-packed. We'll put sharks in there if he wants that. Yeah.
Awesome. So, well, we will see you. So how do people learn more?
Please go on our website, ballastvr.com, BALLASTVR.com. Thanks for posting that link. That's easier. Yeah. And then I'm SP Greenwood on Twitter, Instagram. And Instagram's a fun one to follow me on because I post a lot of behind the scenes and travel related stuff as I'm going to these conferences and speaking and stuff. So please get in touch and email me. I'm Steven@ballastvr.com. Would love to hear from people out there and figure out how we can partner.
And tell them you heard about it on the deep dive, which is kind of cool because it's about diving in the water. So
yeah, I think this was meant to be, and I really appreciate.
Well, I appreciate you sticking with me and carrying me for the first half of this while I couldn't actually hear half of what you were saying and had to reboot my browser every 10 seconds. So
Regis came through in the end, though.
It just got better. So cool. I look forward to seeing you in Orlando and doing this somewhere at some point.
We'll get you in the pool in Orlando. I'll bring you a swimsuit, okay?
I always have a swimsuit with me. You never know when the surf's going to be up. I would love to do this in Orlando. Let's make that happen. Beautiful.
Awesome.
Steven, have a great weekend.
Thanks,
I'll see all of you next week, I think. And I'll be in Russia. And I've got Lila from One Dome. We had to reschedule that. And so she'll be giving us kind of a retrospective on what happened and some of the challenges of doing augmented reality and location-based entertainment and creating more kind of artistic exhibits and stuff. So I think it'll be a good one. I think we're going to learn a lot. We learn more from our failures than our successes. So stay tuned next week. I'll see you from Moscow. Peace out. Thanks, Steven. Take care.
Bye.